Welcome to Ignite to Impact, a weekly podcast that explores what it takes to make your community, our nation, and the world a better place. You've tuned in to be inspired and enlightened as we pull back the curtain and dive into intimate and energetic conversations with achievers and doers. We are talking with leaders who are in the trenches making phenomenal changes through business, nonprofits, education, and the arts. Our goal? To encourage, motivate, and challenge you to go to the next level in leadership. Now, here's your host, Master Leadership Strategist, Dr. Geneva Williams. So, let's ignite to impact.
Hi there, this is Dr. Geneva, and welcome to Ignite to Impact. Conversations about making the world a better place. And you know, each week we bring you inspiring stories, people from all walks of life. Entrepreneurs and some teachers, nonprofit executives, artists, everyday folk unleashing their leadership, solving problems in their community, and creating that change that leaves impact. They're fighting hunger, finding ways to end homelessness, helping children learn to read, working to eliminate poverty. They're working on education, race relations, transportation, crime, youth development. So we travel all around the country learning what real leaders do day to day, how they ignite collaboration, turn bad situations around, and still stay excited about their own journey in leadership. And, you know, we're also going to have conversations where we discover what makes these leaders tick and how they build their own legacy. So welcome today. Today I'm so excited. We have Jessica Byrd with us, founder of Chic Moms. And we're going to find out all about what Chic Moms is and how it's making a difference in the community. Now, let me tell you about Jessica. She's a firm believer that hard work pays off. She uses her communications, event management, and marketing expertise to serve as the community relations specialist for United Healthcare Community Plan. So she has this niche for community outreach and engagement with a personal goal to living a life on purpose. So that's what she does during the daytime. But what we want to talk to her about is that, but also Chic Moms. When she became a new mommy, she was bombarded with tons of decisions to make, as most moms are. Should I work? Should I do daycare? Should I breastfeed? And the list goes on. Despite having a very strong support group in her family, she noticed that among her peers, motherhood was like a secret society. So we're going to learn what she did about this secret society and how she's making a difference, making an impact, igniting her leadership to make a difference for others. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're so delighted. And so, you know, let's just get this off the table so we just know what you're talking about when we say Chic Moms. Mm-hmm. What's that about?
So the interesting part is that when people see Chic Mom, they automatically think that chic is a form of a person, the way we dress, how we look, because we are very chic, if I can say so myself. Mm-hmm. But chic is actually an acronym for confident, heroic, inspiring, courageous mom.
Ooh, so now wait. We're going to repeat that because I love it. So let's do that again. Okay. So the C is for?
The C is for chic. The H is for heroic, the I is for inspiring, and the C is for courageous.
Oh, right.
And so that's how we teach mothers to live their life. We really believe that role models are set at home. And we really believe in encouraging and empowering mothers to live their best life, to live out loud despite being a mom. There's a lot of teachings that motherhood compromises your own personal goals. And while you do have to make sacrifices as a mom, we really believe in living your life out loud while being a mom, because that's the best way we can show our children, actually model to our children what a role model actually is. So that's our number one goal, that role model starts at home. Then live your best life while being a mom, and making sure that we're modeling those examples to our children, so our children can grow up not recovering from their childhood. They can grow up thriving because they saw a household at home that modeled the things that they saw a household at home that modeled a successful household. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So we really are big on encouraging and empowering. So we do a lot of education while we also do a lot of empowering.
All right. So chic, confident, heroic, inspiring, courageous moms. I love it. So I want to find out about this mom sitting right across from me, Jessica. So tell us about you. Tell us, what was Jessica like as a child?
What was Jessica like as a child? Jessica was free spirit as a child. Jessica wanted to be a boss. That's all I remember. I didn't know what I wanted to be a leader of, but I know that anytime I was put in a position, I was leading something. My mom, actually, so I just celebrated my 4-year anniversary Thursday, and so my mother talked about this at our wedding. She said, at 10 years old, I got up on the table in front of maybe about 15 of my family members. I was 10, and I told them what they should do to keep a man. Now,
at 10? Well, you got to tell me, though, but what did you say? That's what I want to know.
I remember saying that you have to be loving, and you have to be caring. And that's all I knew, right? I was 10. But I'm sitting up there telling them what they needed to do, talking to grown adults. So that just showed my characteristics in being a leader. I was very outgoing. I was in almost every activity you can think of. But I was very free-spirited. I was very outgoing. And when you think about why I started the organization, when I became a mother, I kind of put a hindrance on, not a hindrance, but I kind of disguised those personalities that I had as a child. I became very serious, you know.
As a mom.
And I started to lose a sense of who I was, I felt like. And so I had to struggle with how to be a mom, but still be who I am. And so that was a struggling part for me when I became a new mom.
So at 10 years old, you were standing on tabletops, telling adults what they needed to do. So, and it's interesting because you were telling them about loving and caring. So where did you get that notion from? How'd you get the idea that that's what was important?
I had a very loving household, but affection was shown differently in my house. It was kind of one of those things that wasn't said. So we didn't really go around saying I love you, or we didn't really go around hugging, but I remember wanting that. So my family was always there at every game, very supportive, and that was the way we showed love, by being there. Right, but we didn't really verbally talk about it. We didn't discuss it. We didn't tell each other. And so I remember, this is something that I want. This is something that I need. And so that was why I was telling my family, this is what we need to be doing. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like talking about a void that was missing. We were very supportive of one another, but we weren't very verbal in how we talked about love and affection and things of that sort.
So that was you at 10 years old. So then tell us, what happened as you got a little older? What happened in high school? Were you in every activity? Did your spirit of being in everything continue throughout high school?
Yeah, so I went to Cass High School, Cass Technical High School.
So that's a high school in Detroit.
The high school in Detroit, yes. And I was a majorette, which is a twirling girl, sort of say, that was in a marching band. I never lost my outgoing personality there. I won like class popular, so I was living the life. I call high school my golden years. Some people say college, but high school was the place to be for me. I was myself. I was myself in the purest of forms in high school. I was outgoing. Like I said, I was in a marching band. I was staying after school for after school activities. I was at every game. Like, I was a high school cheerleading poster child, if you could say. Like, I was all into it. I was all into my green and white, which is the colors for Cass Tech. So I really had fun in high school. I really did.
Did you know in high school, I remember you saying that when you weren't sure what kind of boss you were going to be, you knew you wanted to be a boss when you were younger. When did the idea begin to form what you wanted to be boss of?
So I actually was one of those people that felt like I didn't have a skill that I was best known for. You know, some people they have a niche in math. They love math.
Okay.
Some people like science.
All right.
Some people like English. I hated them all.
Okay.
But one thing that I loved to do was talk. Like, I love, that was the one thing I got in trouble with the most in high school. It's like, she's a good person. She's a good, she's in class. Sorry. She's in class, but she talks too much, and so I had a problem with talking. And I had a problem with, I don't know if it's a problem, but I love to express my opinion. And if you didn't believe in my opinion, I was going to argue sun up to sundown. So you can understand why I feel the way I do. So as I went to college, I went to Michigan State, which is in the East Lansing. I realized that I love talking, and I really didn't know that there was a career or a field for that until I came across Oprah. And she was kind of like my ideal career that I wanted to follow as far as like talking, having a talk show, having a network now. She was like, I was like, oh, there is a career for me running my mouth, because that's the one thing that comes natural. So I knew that I wanted to be a leader in being able to use my ability to talk, to communicate with others. I knew that I was going to communicate with others in some way, shape, or form. I just didn't know how.
Okay. So you took the love, and I would think by this time it was not only a love for talking, but really you picked up skills, communication skills, because it is a legitimate field where you develop and learn skills and can make money and all of that kind of stuff. So you took that to Michigan State. Yes. And so your career, did you get your degree in what? Communications, advertising? Oh, there you go. Okay. All right.
I got my degree in communications.
Okay.
And that came about because I changed my major maybe 3 times. Okay. I started out in education, and then I realized my patience wasn't the best when it comes to teaching in a classroom setting, I should say. So I switched it, and I switched it with the emphasis in communications with the emphasis in public relations. And then after doing some courses in public relations, I realized that I didn't really want to be behind the scenes. I wanted to be the scene. So then I said, you know what, let me study mass media. And so I studied mass media, and so I ended up graduating with a bachelor's in communications with an emphasis on mass media.
Okay. So, tell me a little bit about this switching that you did, this changing of your major, particularly for those young people who are now in college, who are thinking about what to do, what have you. I know when I was growing up, it was always figure out what it is you're going to do, stick to it, kind of what do you want to do in the next 3 years, 5 years, lay out that game plan. You really didn't do that, did you? And you kind of mixed it up some.
Yes.
Did you learn anything from that? Was this a good thing for you? And
this was a good thing for me, but when you talk about advice that I would give those young adults or that are in college, I think internships are a must. Okay. You can study stuff, you can study things, but it's different when you're when you're interning in that field. Mm-hmm. You get a sense for what you want to do, what you don't want to do, what you like, what you don't like. So I did a numerous of internships. I worked at PR firms. Mm-hmm. It was one point where I wanted to be a journalist, where I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be a news anchor. So I did internships at TV stations, at ABC. I did internships at magazines because I wanted to write. I did so many internships, and I kind of took a little bit out of each internship and formed it into what I thought was a career. Mm-hmm. So internships really helped me kind of develop the blueprint of what I wanted to do with my life. Mm-hmm. I think, like you said before, like doing the 3-year plan, the 5-year plan, that's ideal and that works in a perfect world. Mm-hmm. But there's something about being in a field and learning that helps you kind of put together an idea of what you want to do, what you like, what you don't like. So I did a sheet. I did likes and dislikes from each internship I had. I did what I liked, what I didn't like. And one thing that stood out is that I didn't like being at a desk all the time. When it came to writing, I liked to write, but I didn't like sitting there all the time. When it came to being in journalism, I love to talk. That goes back to my communications. But I didn't like telling stories that didn't serve my purpose. You know, I wanted to be particular about the stories that I wanted to tell. So I was like, okay, maybe I can't do that. I'll be the news anchor that if I have to tell a bad story, I'll be on TV crying. And they'll be like, will she stop, please? You know, I was too emotional for that. So I kind of put together dislikes and lights from every internship that I had to kind of manifest what a career would look like for me. So that's the one piece, is do those internships. You can't just take the courses. I think you have to do the internships, and they really, really help you discover who you are and bring out your skills and your abilities about yourself that you might not have discovered by just sitting in a class and taking courses.
Yeah, that's some great advice, Jessica. And in fact, you know, I know you said, well, I switched here, I changed here, but you really did go through a process of discovery, as you said, and you went out and you tested things and you checked in with yourself, and then you made some course adjustments, and so that's all good. So if you're just joining us, we're talking with Jessica Byrd, and she is really giving us the scoop about growing up as a youngster, knowing from an early age that she was going to be boss. And so we're talking to her about Chic Moms, one of those innovative responses to some problems and pain that she saw as a mom. And so we're getting into that. So, Jessica, I want to, before we talk about Chic Mom and what took you in that path, when you left college, is that when you went into, is it United Healthcare that you were working? So tell us about that in your journey and the profession that you're in now.
Sure. So when I left college, it's funny when you talk about checking in with yourself, that never stops, the checking in with yourself. So I checked in with myself. I left college. Like I said, I went to Michigan State in East Lansing. I said, I'm out of Michigan. I can't do it anymore. And I moved to Atlanta. That was soon as I left college. Okay. I stayed in Atlanta for 2 years. And in Atlanta, I worked as a public relation manager for a small PR firm. And although I did internships in PR before, that was the first opportunity that presented itself to me. So I took it. And I worked there for about 2 years, and I loved it. But the part that I loved the most was the event management part. I love putting together events. I love putting together things that brings people together to have a good time and celebrate life. I love that part. I didn't like the cold calling and the nitty-gritty that goes with the public relations. That challenged me quite a bit. So I stayed there for 2 years. The public relation firm, like I said, it was small, so it actually ended up closing. So I ended up moving back to Michigan. But in my mind, I never thought I would stay in Michigan. I was always that person that was like, I'm moving, I'm staying away, I'm never coming back. So I moved back to Michigan, and when I came back here, I met my significant other, and life kind of took a different turn.
Okay.
I was always one of those I never wanted to get married. I never wanted to have kids. I wanted to run something, right? And so marriage and kids didn't match with that to me in my head.
Because you felt that you didn't have time to do both?
I felt that I didn't have time to do both.
Okay.
I felt like I had to sacrifice a lot of myself. Okay. And I wasn't a sacrifice type of girl. I was if I want to do it, I'm going to do it. So I just didn't see that picture of my life at all. So when I came back to Michigan, I met my significant other, and so things turned, and then I interned at Michigan Chronicle. I interned at the Michigan Chronicle as a PR assistant, as an event management assistant. Okay. Then they brought me on, they hired me in as an account executive, where I started managing accounts and sponsorships and partnerships for the Michigan Chronicle. Then, for those that don't know, Michigan Chronicle is an African-American known newspaper. Then, after I'd done that for a year, they then promoted me to the event manager. So that goes back to my niche of loving to plan events. So then I did an event manager for about a year. Then I came to United Healthcare, where I'm at now.
See. Okay.
And I am the community relations specialist for Wayne County. So what I do is I decide upon our sponsorships in Wayne County. So organizations will reach out to me if they want to get sponsorships and partnerships. I kind of make sure that we're doing sponsorship, community-based events, partnerships in the Wayne County territory, with the end goal for people to choose United Healthcare as their healthcare provider, because it's a Medicaid. It's a Medicaid plan. I work on the Medicaid side. Okay. So I'm in the community a lot. I'm putting together partnerships a lot. It requires a lot of community work in order to do my job. So that's what I do now. So United Healthcare, so that this is a way that they show a presence in the community. Yes.
And so if people know them, hopefully people will love them and people will choose them as a provider.
Correct.
Is the thinking.
Okay. Yes. They would choose us. If you're eligible for Medicaid, you can actually decide what provider you want as your Medicaid service. And so we're one of the health plans that you can choose. Okay. So the ideal is to think of United Healthcare as more than just a health plan, but we're a plan that is involved in our community, and we care about our members. So we make sure to be in partnership with those community-based organizations that service our members, and we do that by supporting their events. We do that by our sponsorships. We do that by our partnerships, but we want to make sure that we're in the community that we serve.
And girl, let me tell you, you do a good job for them, because see, you just ran it for them. I'm telling you, I know they love you. And so how long have you been with United
So my
Healthcare?
second year anniversary will be this November.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you're at the, got a great career going, and by this time you've married.
Yes.
Is this right? Okay.
Yes.
So great career going, you're married and become a mom. And so what happened? Why Chic Mom?
Why Chic Mom? So I have a 3 and 4-year-old. They're 13 months apart. Not so much when I had my first child, but when I had my second child, I suffered from postpartum depression. Okay. And I think that postpartum is one of those things that is kind of taboo. In the community. It's one of those things we don't really talk about. It's one of those things that just happen, and you kind of like keep it to yourself because you don't want to be judged. You don't want to feel a certain type of way. So I actually just start talking out about that. Okay. So like I mentioned in my bio, I had a very strong support group with my family, with my husband. But when it came to peers, there was just things that I couldn't do anymore, especially when I had my second child. I was the only one that had 2 children in my in my group of peers. And so I started to feel like I couldn't do things anymore. Like if I couldn't do spontaneous things. Everything
with your girls.
Yes.
Is that basically what you're saying when you say your peers?
My peers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Because your girls were... They were doing other things.
Right. They were able to do things that I couldn't do. Everything had to be planned out. Everything had to be consulted with my husband first. Then we had to consult the babysitter. It just became a lot. And I'm like, wow, this, like I said before, I'm free-spirited, right? So this whole planning out, this maneuvering, this and that, it felt like I just couldn't do the things I wanted to do anymore. And at that time, I should have appreciated motherhood, but at the time, it felt like it was a sense of hindrance. So I started it because I felt like there had to be other mothers that felt this way. So we needed a social group to support each other. But I didn't just want a fun group, right? We do play dates, we do all of that, but I wanted an educational group too. So we do educational seminars on finances. We teach parents how to save for college. And that came from me having tons of student loan debt, things that we didn't know. So we do financial seminars. We do love in a home seminars. So children know how to grow up in an environment that is loved. We do a lot of educational based events, and we miss it with empowering. So I wanted to make sure we were covering both. It wasn't just fun, but it was educational as well.
So do groups like this exist in the area, or is this something brand new?
So when I started it, I didn't know of groups like this that existed, so I created my own. I think there's a lot of groups that are fun and do like play dates and things like that, but when it comes to missing the two, fun and educational, I would say that Chic Mom is unique in that sense, because we do a lot of educational workshops. We have play dates, but a lot of it is making sure we're educating moms as well, so their children can grow up in a thriving and surviving household.
I always like to, talk about what sparks people to do what they do, aside from, your day-to-day job, your day-to-day life, and you're a mom too, but you added on this. So why?
I have a strong passion for women. I do. I have a strong passion for people living their best lives. I think too much we get caught up in just the day-to-day, just being a mom, going to work, coming home, and we don't get caught up. We don't enjoy life. I don't, I think that life should be enjoyed. I think that households, especially African American households, I think that we should have a thriving household so that when our children grow up, they're not leaving with student loan debt. They're not leaving with not knowing what career to choose. They're not feeling lost. And I think a lot of households, children grow up feeling lost. And so I have a strong passion for women, and for educating our families to make sure that our children are growing up educated and our families are growing up empowered. So my niche for women, my niche for children, it kind of sparks me to keep going.
It's I know I get that feeling and flavor of what you're saying. I noticed on your website you say, quote, mothers are better parents when they're walking in their purpose and have a strong support group along the way. Why is that?
You're a better person, whether you're a mother or a father, but we're going to focus on mother. You're a better person when you're walking in your destiny, when you're walking in your passion. You just give more to everybody around you when you feel like you found your passion, you're doing your passion, and you're living your passion. When you feel that feeling in your heart and your spirit, it's something different about how you do things. It's something different about how you act in your household. When you're just struggling with the day-to-day of life and you're kind of just going through life, not pretty knowing your purpose, knowing what you're called for, your family and your household kind of notice that. You're different on how you treat things, how you talk to people. So you're thriving when you're walking in your purpose, when you have a sense of who you are. Everyone around you can feel that. So mothers are better when they're walking in their purpose. And when you're surrounded with like-minded people, nothing can stop you. Nothing.
And so Chic Mom helps moms find their purpose, get some additional education and all that kind of good stuff to help them walk in their purpose, as you say. So where do you see the future for Chic Mom?
So right now we're working on having chapters. We're just
so you're going to expand nationally?
Yes.
Oh, go girl. Oh my goodness. Yes.
So we're just in Detroit now. This recent 2 weeks ago, we had a panel discussion. Someone came from Chicago, and she really wanted us to have one in Chicago. We've been approached by someone in Atlanta to start one in Atlanta. So right now, we're really working on trying to have different chapters as a national organization. That's our main goal, is to be a national organization.
Oh, fantastic. So how would you start a chapter? Just a group of moms get together, understand the purpose, and how would that start?
So we have a checklist, actually. You have to have a group of at least 20 people interested. So you start with a petition showing that you at least have 20 people that's interested. Then once you have a petition for your city, you then identify 3 people that can serve on your board, and that's as a president, a vice president, and a secretary. Once you have those 3 people, you then decide on your chapter guidelines. We do have a rule that each chapter has to have at least 2 educational events in the year. Okay. So we want to make sure, we're really big on making sure it's not just a fun. I mean, it is fun. Yes. But it's not just fun, right? So you do have to identify, you do have to come with a list of your events for at least the first 5 months. And then we will provide the support as a national, as a home organization, I guess, in Detroit. We will provide that support for you for the first year, and then you're able to take off and kind of make it a chapter of your own.
How wonderful. So this idea that you had from when you were 10 years old standing on the table, is you're seeing it as a national, growing as a national. I mean, that is really igniting and making a difference in the community for moms. So, we're wrapping up, but this is just wonderful, because I'm going to have you back when you have 2-3 chapters, and we'll talk about all of the wonderfulness that's going on. But if you were to give a message to moms who are listening to your voice, who've heard your story, who are hearing that, in fact, you can control your destiny, that you can find and walk in your purpose, what would you say to these moms as we're closing?
I will go back to the question you asked me in the very beginning. What did you like to do as a child? Who were you as a child? Our childhood tells stories about us that we sometimes neglect. And if you can pull yourself back, not as a mom, not as a wife, whatever all these titles we put on ourselves, if you can strip yourself back to your childhood, what was the stories that told about how you were, who you were, and who you wanted to be when you grow up? Take a moment away from the kids, away from family, away from peers, and go back, visualize, go back. Maybe take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, start off with 5. Go back to those times. Write those words down. What did, free spirited come up, boss come up, leader come up. Write those words down to really go back to the essence of who you were before life started judging us, before we put titles on ourselves. Go back and discover that self, and then try to find how you can walk in that in your purpose, using your old childhood memories of yourself. I think childhood is very important when it comes to who you are as a person.
Jessica Byrd, thank you so much. This has just been so inspiring. Again, you were seeing things that were going on with your own life. You were feeling, you were trying to balance being a mom, and you reached out and of your own free will and said, hey, I can make a difference. I can make an impact. And so we're just delighted that you were with us today, and best of everything.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
You've been listening to Ignite to Impact. Your host is Dr. Geneva Williams, an award-winning executive, facilitator, and master leadership strategist. Dr. Geneva is dedicated to inspiring others to get their leadership on and equipping the next generation with leadership tools and tips to help make the world a better place. Sign up to download Dr. Geneva's mini ebook on leadership. Get the show notes, links, and other resources at drgenevaspeaks.com. That's drgenevaspeaks.com. Thanks for listening. Please share the podcast to those in your community via Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Google+, and leave us a 5-star review in iTunes. When you do that, it helps others find the podcast easier. Send your questions or comments to info@drgenevaspeaks.com.